Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. This is Jeff from Fluent American, and this is also the Schwa Mill, our Saturday live stream, where at this time, every single week, we take a look at your American English pronunciation. What you can do is you can send us files, and then we can give you some suggestions on ways to sound even more natural in American English pronunciation. Welcome back, guys. Be sure to let me know if the mic is coming in hot and or cold, if you can hear me, if it's hard, um, things like that. Keep me posted. I know we've had some issues in the previous streams, but it's great to have you back. In case you are wondering how to send in your own pronunciation files, I'm going to walk you through the process, and then after that, we'll say our hellos to everybody. But what you can do is you can also see this in the video description, but you want to go to this website right here. Thanks to Emmanuel saying that the mic is good. I appreciate that. So you go to that link. What it's going to look like. Give me a second to share. Tension, tension, tension. Oh my gosh. This is what you're going to see. Okay. So you're going to see this document. It's a Google Doc. So you go to this link. You will then notice at the top there are some directions. Visit vocaroo.com. Vocaroo.com looks kind of like this. When you first log in, you're going to see a big record button. You can record yourself. Then it's going to give you the option to save it. Okay. And it's also going to give you this link. When you click this link, you can then copy and paste it here in the document. You can let us know your name if you'd like us to know who you are, but you don't have to. So you're completely up to you. And something that's also helpful for me is if you put in the text, so that way I know what you said in case we have any audio issues, comprehension issues, and things like that. So we can give the best feedback for you. So that's something exciting. So that way we can hear what you're seeing and things like that. Hear what you're saying. Just some quick notes here before we take a look. Just want to say some hellos. Hello to my mom. Great to see you. She actually sent us a file, so you get to hear some more. Native American English pronunciation, which is great from native speakers. Okay. My mom asked me where I was. Sorry, it's been, I'm in the process of, well, first of all, happy Novenglish. And if you don't know what Novenglish is, for the month of November, I am putting out 30 videos in 30 days. Each one of them is kind of just taking a look at a different aspect of American English pronunciation that I think is crucial for getting a natural sound. It may not go the most in depth, but it's enough to definitely get you started on the sound. And then we have other videos that go into more details for each of those topics. So if you're studying American English, you just started, or maybe you studied for a while, but you're not really sure where to begin or what to study next, by taking a look at each of these videos in order, these are the basically all of the foundation elements to getting a natural sound. So if you guys are joining me in Novenglish, if you're doing our 30-day challenge, let me know in the chat. Let me know how you're going. Do you liking the videos? Find them difficult? Find them easy? Things like that. All of that information is good for me and super helpful. I'm working on our next video. I think I'm working on the day 6 video I still have to make, and I'm hoping to shoot a lot more later today. Hello to Emmanuel checking in. My mom notes it's 77 degrees down in Philadelphia, so that means what, like about 23 degrees ish Celsius, so 23, 24, 25 ish. Pretty warm for this time of year. Time to go outside. Hello to Shok checking in, which is great. And oh my gosh, this is such great news. So Emmanuel notes that marks his 1 year. We've been doing this for a year. It's a year. That is wild. 1 year anniversary for the Schwa Mill, at least. A 1 year anniversary for Emmanuel. That's great. Thanks for being with us the entire time, man. What a ride. What a ride indeed. And it's been great just hearing your progress and things. You know, I think when we first came in, I think you really had the breath down, but we just added so much more contrast to everything, which is great. Glad you've enjoyed it. And that is definitely a great memory. All right. I'm trying to think if there's any other housekeeping things. Don't believe so. So I think we could then get on to the meat of our content. Why you guys are here. It's not just to hear me talk. You want some feedback for yourselves. Totally understand that. So let's get into hearing your American English pronunciation. Oh, let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not little, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? All right, so you can see I have added my headphones. That way I can hear what you're hearing and see your files as well once I share everything. So let's take a look at that. Give me a moment to share my screen and also my audio. I'm sharing my audio, Emmanuel. You don't have to yell at me. I got it. Okay, so right now, a very reasonable amount of files. And of course, if you want to add in your own files to the mix, feel free. Also, let me know, like, if this is your first time watching the stream. We always love seeing when new people join us. So let's take a look. I'm not going to go in any particular order here. Let's listen to our first file.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
Speaking of Emmanuel, let's hear this again.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
And what the score was for last night's game. Oh, it's did you? Oh, let me listen to that again because I feel like I heard do you. Oh, and I did it again. I think it was this one. Nope, it wasn't that one. It was 3 seconds. Okay.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
Okay, yeah, you just said did. That was on me.
Do you know what the score was?
Do you know what the score was? I think from a grammar point of view, I think the more common way to actually ask this question would actually be with do you know? Do you know what the score was? Instead, do you know? Like, did you? I feel like the present would be more common, especially if it's like last night. A lot of times, like if you ask, like, did you know? That's more of like a kind of like something you don't actually expect the other person to know. Like, did you know that this person did this? Like, did you know that? Whereas, like, do you know is more like a general situation. Like, do you know this? Yes or no? I'm not sure. So just a note there. But pronunciation wise,
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
I'm not in love with the pattern used for this in terms of the pronunciation. I'll be honest. I think something that would have been more likely. That's interesting. It shows that one. Let me play it again.
Do you know what the score was for?
Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was?
Do you know what the score was for?
Score was okay. So one of the things I think is happening is that score was. So you're putting the emphasis on was as opposed to the score. So I think that's the very first thing I'm going to say is that I would probably shift the stress onto score. So instead of score was, more score was. I would do more score was. Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was? Is the score was more score was? I think that's something that would help. Do you know what the score was? Do you know what the score was? I also wouldn't drag out was. Score was. We kind of really hold that, right?
The score was?
Score was for score was. Do you know what the score was? You know what the score was? So I'll go pretty fast on score as well. I mean on was.
For last night's game?
For last night's game. I also think that I probably wouldn't stress game. I would probably just do score. Do you know what the score was for last night's game? Do you know what the score was for last night's game? Last night's game. It's like down, down, down. Last night's game. Do you know what the score was for last night's game? Do you know what the score was for last night's game? I think that would be a more natural pattern in terms of the intonation and also just the stress patterns. Because like like that sort of repetition you don't hear a whole lot. That pattern's not very common in American English.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
Last night's game. I also think for last night's game.
Last night's game. For last night's game.
Last night's
game. Score was for last night's game.
Da, 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 da. So it kind of feels like you're giving me the two of the same pitches and then that shift game, as you stress game, which again I personally probably wouldn't do. Maybe like for last night's, I might drop in pitch because right now you're kind of giving me the same pitch, like last night. See if you can hear that.
For last night's game.
Last night's. Go lower on nights. Last night's game. last night's game, last night's game, last night's game. It's like down, 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 down. Last night's game. You know what the score was for last night's game? Do you know what the score was? Score was for last night's game. But those would probably be my biggest suggestions. Let me just see if there's any other like pronunciation things, vowel sounds, consonants. Make sure there's no question.
Do you know what the score was for last night's game?
Hello also to Doa. I've been seeing her around the channel a lot recently, which is great. Great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Nick, so my mom makes a note about the pitches, like again lower pitches. Last night's game, maybe you can get away with a lower pitch. Maybe if game hadn't been stressed, that might have sounded a little bit more natural. But I would definitely keep the pitches a little lower, and I wouldn't stress anything there.
Do you know the score?
Do you know? Do you know? Do you know? Just a quick note too about the linking for that little phrase. Do you know? Do you know? It's like a lot of times instead of like "Did you know," it just comes like "Do you know? Do you know? Do you know?" Just a note. But I think this gives lots of things to consider. So, Emmanuel, if anything there isn't clear, be sure to let me know. But thank you so much for sending that file. We always appreciate it. And also for Doa, if you have some pronunciation files, if you would like to send us something, we would love to hear it. And again, all you need to do is to go to this link and follow the directions up top to send in your pronunciation file. You can even look earlier in the stream. We talked about these steps. Okay. Mom says hello, and Emmanuel says thank you. Cool, cool, cool. All right, let's take a look at our next file now. Let's go here. We got a 7-second file. Let's see what we got going on.
I don't have anyone to walk with. Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
Play again.
I don't have anyone to walk with. Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
Okay. This is the text from that latest file. Oh no, which one was I? Did it again, guys. I always do it.
I don't have anyone to
Of course,
walk
this one.
with.
No anyone to walk with.
I don't have anyone to walk with.
And I don't have anyone to walk with.
I don't have anyone to walk with.
Anyone to walk with. I think that in general that sounds fine. I just want to talk about another option. Again, you don't have to do this. It's just an option that you could have with this is anyone to. You could do like anyone so a lot of times when you have anyone it's like you have that n sound which is very vocalized in anyone, and then you have that t followed by another vowel. So a very common situation is that just going to make a note for myself. Trying to remember timestamps, guys. Is that for this file, like anyone, because that T is again surrounded by very vocalized sounds, it's very common for that to get almost like a fast D flap T sound. It's like anyone, anyone to walk with. So instead anyone to, you could do anyone. Just note there
I don't have anyone to walk with.
because right now your T sounds a little strong. Anyone to walk with, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just want to talk again about another option that you will hear. I want to say a quick hello to Edward checking in once more. Great to see you back, Edward. And Denny Ben Torlato. How's it going, man? I did hydrate. It's happening. I promise. I am hydrating. Promise, promise, promise. Okay. Yeah, I was thinking that too. The audio files are a little bit low, Emmanuel notes. I think my mic is actually at the standard volume. I think it's people's files are lower than they have been in previous weeks. What I can do, I can lower my volume, but I'm afraid of it going too low. I will lower mine slightly, and you guys can let me know if it's too low. Give me one sec. Okay, I lowered mine very, very slightly because I don't want people to have a bad experience. Okay. So again, anyone to walk with, so that part's there.
I don't have anyone to walk with.
I like your breath. You're getting a lot of breath through, which is great. Anyone to walk with.
Do you want me to come with you?
Do you want me? Do you want me? Cool. I like your raised how you raised the pitch there. Very natural
Walk
sounding.
with. Do you want me to come with you?
Watch out for the with.
Do you want me to come with you?
Come with you. Come with you. Come with you. So I was actually talking with, I believe it was with Sycamore about this. About with. A lot of people when they're pronouncing, when I say a lot of people, I mean a lot of people who learned English pronounce with the preposition with a voiced th, doing a lot of with, which is okay in the right situation. But I think the more, if you look up a transcription of with, it's voiceless. It's a voiceless sound. It's not really with. It's with. Now there may be some situations with linking and things like that where you can make it a voiced sound. It's like with the like if you have a with paired with the or link it with a voice sound. I think that's certainly an option where you could um, talk about trying to make it more of a voice sound. But I think in general, what you're going to see is that, and with is going to be more voiceless. So I would recommend like here making it voiceless as well.
Do you want me to come with you?
So with you, more with you. Wants to come with you. Come with you. The So instead with you, I would do with you personally.
Do you want me to come with you?
Do you want me to come with you? Do you want me to come with you? So that would be one suggestion there. In addition to that,
Do you want me to come with you?
I do feel like with you have a e sound like with come with you,
Do you want me to come with you?
come with you, come with you versus come with you, come with you. You want me to come with you? That's how I would say that. So watch out again for that e sound on with, and also watch out for that th. I would make it voiceless. But I will say, and my mom actually noted this as well, I really like the emphasis, I like your stress words, I like your pitch and your tone. And those are, I would agree that those are very natural sounding. So everything I mentioned is kind of more nitpicky.
Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
Okay, so everything you've done to this moment before, well, I really like what I've heard. I think you're using some really natural patterns. I think everything's coming in really clearly. There's a lot of emotion. It's very expressive. Listen again to that first half.
I don't have anyone to walk with.
I don't have anyone to
Do
walk
you
with.
want me to
Great.
come with you?
You want me to come with you? Come with you? I like that. But then
Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car.
we lose a lot of the same things I think are really working well in that first half. They kind of just disappear in the second half.
Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if
It'll be easier. I would have stressed easier. I would have gone higher pitch on that. I would have made that my emphasis. It'll be easier. Well, it'll be easier. Well, it'll be easier.
I don't have anyone to walk with. Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if
It'll be easier. It'll be because right now your stress is actually probably it. It'll be easier in it. Like that is so rarely your stressed word.
Do you want me to come with you? Well, it'll be easier if
It'll be easier. So you also have falling intonation on easier. So I would have stressed that, raising the pitch higher and using rising intonation. It'll be easier
I fix my car.
if I fix my car. So you have this conditional, right? You have an if conditional. You have a real conditional, your first one. And so, conditionals, you can have multiple stresses. You would expect, in fact, in your if clause to there to be a stress. And then in whatever clause comes after that, the consequence, that should also have a stress. So your first stress, again, I suggest to be easier. And your second stress, car. It'll be easier if I fix my car. Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car. Or another option you could do too is like a fall rise. Car. Well, it'll be easier if I fix my car. And that means that you haven't fixed your car, but it will be easier if that happens. So that's something to also consider there. It'll be easier if I fix my car, or it'll be easier if I fix my car. Just some options there. So again, lots of little things. I hope those notes are helpful for you. Sycamore, thank you for sending that audio file. We always do appreciate it. And if you guys have some other questions about things we mentioned there, be sure to let me know in the chat. Edward makes the note in have to. the sound v becomes f. Therefore, the phrase is pronounced as have to. Have to. I think, in all honesty, instead of even saying the phrase is pronounced have to, I think a lot of times it's pronounced as have to. Have to. In fact, if you guys ever see like how like teenagers text and things like that, or how people write or like transcribe or like shorten phrases, sometimes you'll see people write have to as this. They'll say like have to, like I have to go, and things like that. That's probably more accurately. I can't even pronounce accurately. I'm not accurately pronouncing accurately. That's how a lot of people pronounce have to. It becomes have to. I have to. And make sure when you say have to that last syllable is really a schwa. So it's not ta, have ta. It's have to, like in was or fun. All right. I think we got a lot of notes about that file. I'm going to take a real quick water break, but don't forget. Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Question.
Emmanuel asks me, can I say that's the thing 3 times? What sounds should we watch out for? That's the thing, that's the thing, that's the thing. So what I would say is, that's the thing, that's the thing, that's the thing. So what I would say there is that for that's the thing, keep in mind, asking about what sound we pay attention to. Well, your stressed word is always the word that you want to make sure comes out the clearest. So for that's the thing. And it does depend on what you're emphasizing here, but in general, for this sentence, thing is the word that gets stressed. So you really want thing to stand out, like thing, thing, thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. There's other ways to say, or other things you also want to be considering for that as well. For instance, you could say that phrase with the tip of my tongue, or I can say it with the tip of my tongue down against my bottom tooth the entire time. So like, that's the thing. 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 I'm not really ever saying that's the thing with the tip of my tongue pressed up here or against the top of my mouth on the ridge. It's always midpoint or lower. So that's something I would consider for that phrase, because I think if you go with those higher positions, it's going to make it a little choppy. You're like, that's the thing, that's the thing, and you don't want that. That sounded pretty bad. So I would really recommend midpoint or lower for that sound. It's going to be a more natural position for that. Let me know if you have any questions about that. Okay. But great question. Denny mentions that they have water too. Echo. And hello also to PropJet chucking in. Send us a file if you're feeling brave enough for today. Or if you just want to lurk, that's cool too. But thanks for saying hello. Great to see you back. This one's 11 seconds. I want to jump to a shorter one. This one's 5 seconds. Let's see what we got here.
When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
I don't know why everyone's audio files for me today are super, super low, and I have everything at max volume for me. I don't think it's my end, in all honesty. I'm checking things, but that was noticeably lower. I'm just going to check my levels really quick, guys. Give me one moment just to make sure that these files are coming in really clear. What I would say, where are we in the stream? We are at minute 23:42. I'm looking for that. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. My mom asked, don't you think that that's the thing? Thing is dropped to lower pitch. I think it depends on what you're stressing. I was stressing thing. Like, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. But if you're stressing that's like, that's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing. Then I think that in that case, that's will be higher. So I think it all depends on what you're stressing. Edward notes that the TH sound is dropped in that's the thing. 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 You know, it's certainly weakened and reduced. In fact, we talk about in one of the recent videos, I think it's the linking video, which is part of our, again, not Mission English, it's part of our 30-day challenge. Again, happy Novanglish, everyone. We're doing our 30-day challenge. Look up if you're interested in TH reductions or TH removals to link sounds together. This is a great example of that sentence. Take a look at our linking video. It talks about that exact situation. That's a great question there. And again, just checking my sound levels just to make sure Everything's coming in through. Yeah, I have everything maxed. So I don't know why. That's the joys of live streaming, folks. Even if I don't touch anything, things are always different. Joys of the internet. I don't know. I have no answers. I have no answers. Can you guys at least hear this file a little bit?
When the going gets tough, the tough get going.
Okay, and I'm gonna put that into the chat box. It's tough. The tough. Get going. Very common phrase. Great expression. So going gets tough, the tough get going. Going gets tough, tough gets going. So one thing I'm already hearing from this file is that there seems to be repetition of the pattern in terms of stresses. Like, oh, so if I stress that one word in the first part, then I want to stress the same word or the same type of word, like a part of speech, in the second part. But I think the reality is in American English that you kind of don't want that to happen. If I stress the noun in the first one, maybe I'll stress the verb in the second one and things like that. We want to kind of mix it up more. So let me play that again. Thanks to my mom for saying that she can hear that.
When the going gets tough,
When the going gets tough, so you stress tough.
the tough get going.
The tough get going. So you stress tough again. Going gets tough. The tough get going. So it is slightly different, right? In terms of first one, adjective, the second one, noun. But the reality is you're stressing the same word, like tough, tough. When it's tough, the tough get going. When it's tough, the tough get going. I would have expected in this phrase going, the last going, to get stressed instead of tough. And you guys, this is a common expression. You could put this into English and you could see what you hear. But I would again recommend when the going gets tough, the tough get going. I think that's going to be a more common pattern. So stress first tough, I'm okay with that. But then on going, I would I'll put the emphasis there. Besides that,
When the going gets tough,
when the going gets tough. Also, Doa letting us know it's her first time here. That's perfect. If you again want to send us a pronunciation file, we would love to listen to you and give some suggestions. That's something that you're interested in. Though I think you can get plenty of feedback just by kind of hearing other people and getting us an idea of the feedback I'm giving for them too. So you don't need to send in your own files to get suggestions. Play that again.
when the going gets tough, the tough.
It's tough. I like your when I like your schwa sounds, and I know that sometimes in previous files we've talked about schwas a lot. Sometimes these are turning into like sounds, and I think we're for the most part really avoiding that here, and I think that sounds great. When the going gets tough, what you don't want to hear is tough. It's not tough. When the going gets tough, no, it's when the going gets tough.
When the going gets tough,
Going gets tough. Also, like your movement, going gets tough. So like that goes at a lower pitch. So like here, then dropped, and up again. Going gets tough. Going gets tough.
the tough get going.
Tough get going. Versus the tough get going.
Stuff, the tough get going.
Yes, that'd be my big suggestion there. The tough get going. Tough get going. And you can hear that difference in rhythm when I play that again.
The tough get going.
Versus the tough get going. Those are probably going to be my biggest suggestions, honestly. It's just the stress. I think is slightly unusual. Cool. Ooh, and Doa mentions that they sent a file. Cool. I'll be honest, I have not checked the documents. Cool. We got one from Jesse as well. Great. I have it. Thanks for sending that. I appreciate it. Cool. My mom notes that she loves the way that both parts of the sentence are connected, even though there's a short pause with the comma. Yeah, you don't necessarily have to have a super long pause there, though it's not necessarily wrong. It's okay to have pauses, but that is something that always I want you to be paying attention to. Sometimes people are having longer pauses than they need. That is something great to pay attention to.
My number one thing, don't overleverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when you really can't.
Okay. Denny's in the house. Here's our text from our citizens. And we're going to play it out once more.
My number one thing, don't over leverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when you really can't.
Okay. For the most part, pretty clear stresses, though there's one stress I do want to kind of mention a little bit, which we'll talk about.
My number one thing,
My number one thing. My number one thing. Interesting. Because I probably would have, if it were me, would I stress thing? My number one thing. My number one thing. That's probably the way I would have said it personally. My number one thing. My number one thing. Yeah, I probably personally would have put the stress on one, but then he makes the note that this is a quote from Matthew McConaughey. Okay. So take everything I say with a grain of salt. This is just how I personally would have done it. Oh, look at that. Arouse in the house. It's been a while. Welcome back. Send us a file if you're up to it, but great to see you again in the stream. Been a minute. So that's just again how I would have done it.
my number one thing,
Because I probably wouldn't have stressed thing.
don't over leverage yourself. My number one thing, don't.
I want to hear thing again.
My number one thing, don't.
Do you hear that like at the end of thing?
My number one thing, don't.
Think. That's something that I want everyone to kind of watch out for with NG sounds, is that it's very easy to add like a k sound for it. But really, when you see the letters NG, it's not really making a like a k, k, k. That might mean that you're pressing the back of your tongue a little too high. It's more thing. It's not thing, thing. Just like practice holding that, like thing. Okay, so again, back of your tongue high, front of your tongue down, but don't get a k sound out of it. The minute you hear any sort of clicking or like or anything like that, that's a sign that it's not quite an NG. But besides that,
My number one thing, don't over leverage yourself.
don't over leverage yourself. My mom knows that she likes leverage and over leverage there. The only thing I would say is it's kind of getting lost.
Number one thing, don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage yourself. I would have increased the variety of pitches. Okay. Don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage. So over leverage. Your stress is on the lev. So that part really needs to go higher because right now it's kind of getting lost a little bit. Don't over leverage.
Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage. Don't over leverage.
Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage. So it's slightly stressed, but I need more. Don't over leverage. My number one thing, don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage yourself. That's how I would have said that compared this to the original.
One thing, don't over leverage yourself.
Also on the over leverage yourself. So like you're giving me like maybe like 2 pitches, like maybe 2.5. Can you give me like 4 or 5? Don't over leverage yourself. Don't over leverage yourself. And this is a common enough situation like my suggestion or mi raccomando, and then you give your suggestion, right? Don't do this. Like, go do this. Don't think that. Don't run away. Like things like that. This is the kind of the pattern that you give for like those sorts of suggestions. So I think that
One thing, don't over leverage yourself.
this is just too flat. And you want yourself to really, that self needs to be really low. Don't over leverage yourself.
Don't over leverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when.
That second half already we're getting a lot more pitch movement, which is great.
Don't say you can do something when.
Don't say you can do something. Don't say you can do something. Okay. And again, Denny, like listen again to the original quote from him if you had the audio file, it wasn't just text. So that way you can compare. Because some of the things I'm saying might not apply to what he was doing. And if you were shadowing him, there's always a chance that what I'm saying doesn't really apply. I can only give you my own thoughts because I haven't heard the original. Edward, I see your question. I'll be there in a moment.
Don't say you can do something when.
Don't say you can do. I like your stress there. The only thing is there, it sounds a little closed off on do. It's not do. It's more do. Don't say you can do. Don't say you can do. Don't say you can do.
Don't say you can do something.
Do that. Do. Don't say you can do versus don't say you can do.
Don't say you can do something when.
Just do something. So I would practice saying that. Do something. Do something. Do something.
do something when you really can't.
When you really can't. Can't should have been stressed.
Something when you really can't.
When you really can't. When you really can't. Sentences, that pattern that you're ending on for can't, you're almost never going to hear that in American English.
Do something when you really can't.
When you really can't. That's kind of an awkward way to end a sentence. You're not really going to hear that pitch. You're not really going to hear that can't. You're going to hear something that's lower. You're going to hear something that's higher, but not kind of like this weird kind of midpoint.
Something when you really can't.
When you really can't. I would have stressed that really hard. Heavy falling intonation. When you really can't. Don't say you can do something when you really can't. Don't say you can do something when you really can't. That's how I would have read that.
Do something when you really can't.
Instead of don't say you can do something, really can't, because it feels unfinished. Like it feels like there's more coming, and then it just dies. It's like, oh, you're done talking. Oh, there's not anything else. Oh, okay. That's just a minor note there. Let me listen to that. See if there's anything else that stands out.
My number one thing: don't over-leverage yourself. Don't say you can do something when you really can't.
When you really can't. Yeah, those are probably my big notes there, Denny. If you have any questions about anything that I mentioned, just let me know. But hopefully this gives you enough to kind of get started, chew over. I would record that again, play it back to yourself, see if you can. And again, I would also, if you were listening to this from an original file, I would play that back and see if you did everything that he was doing. Because maybe you did. Maybe that's exactly how he said it. So take everything with a grain of salt.
My number.
Okay. Let me see. It's great to have something like Novenglish. Yeah, it is. Happy Novenglish, everyone. In case you're watching this for the first time, maybe you've never even seen me. If you've never seen me before and you're just like wondering, who is this guy? What's happening? I'm sure let me know in the chat. But Novenglish, we're doing a 30-day accent challenge. One video every single day for the month of November. In fact, you can, if you want to join in on the fun, you want to do a 30-day challenge. From your perspective, I hope it's not too difficult. It's one video a day. These videos, you can see it here on the channel page. Even have a little playlist tab right underneath. So you can see all our videos that we have so far. Okay. So one video a day takes about 2 to 3 minutes of your time, and it gives you a new concept of American English so that by the end of the 30 days, you will know what exactly you need to study, in what order you need to study it to get a natural pronunciation. Okay. Relatively the order. Question 2 are leverage, library, and secretary pronounced 4-syllable words or 3-syllable words in ME. Okay. Oh, and Denny makes a note too. He didn't find any videos of him saying it. It was just text. Got you. Yeah. That's always hard when it's just text. But going back to Edward's question, great one. Or leverage. Leverage will have with 2 syllables. Leverage. Okay. Leverage. Same thing as like average, several. I mean, there's so many words with drop syllables, but yeah, that's the first one done. Secretary. 4 syllables. I would say that's 4. Secretary. And library. 3 syllables. Library. How would that become shortened? Like library? Do people say it library? I went to the library. No, you really kind of need the air library. I've never heard it pronounced as library, but there may be some regional accents perhaps that do it that way. Maybe. Okay, moving on. I got 14 and I got 11. We're moving on to the big files. Cool. Let us take a listen.
Far off when on my couch I lie in vacant, unpensive room, they flash up in the word and I, which is the blessed solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils.
You will recognize the daffodils part. So we got some poetry in the house. We love poetry here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but in the back, it's a little blurry. But those books you see on my wall back there are all poetry books. Anyways, so for this file,
Far off when on my couch I lie in.
I'm gonna have to just break this into smaller parts. That part I thought sounded pretty good. Oft is not a A common word, short for often.
For oft when on my couch I lie.
When on my couch, I like one thing too. So like this, what you're going to notice about this poem is, Wordsworth is a poet who's using meter, which means there's a very regular pattern. Like for oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood. So he's using that sort of movement. Da 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 da. That's called an I am. So if you notice that the pattern feels very regular, that's what's happening there.
For oft when on my couch I lie.
I like those. I think those sounds are really clear.
Vacant on a pensive room they
I didn't really hear mood there.
lie in vacant on a pensive room they
Um,
vacant on a pensive room they
I feel like I'm hearing room instead of mood. So no, I would listen to that again. Pensive mood, pensive mood.
flash up in that word and I which
Let me hear the next part.
up in that word and I which is the vacant on a pensive room they flash up in that word and I
Again, that inward eye. I feel like I heard something different again. It's like that inward eye, that inward eye. They flash upon that inward eye,
the room they flash up in that word and I which is the bliss of solitude and
which is the bliss of solitude.
which is the bliss of solitude and
Solitude. One thing is, again, it's hard with a poem like this that's written in meter, because it's very easy to get kind of lulled into the trance and kind of like this the regular pattern. But really, solitude should have the stress on sol, not on tude. So it's not solitude, it's solitude.
which is the bliss of solitude and then my heart with pleasure fills it
We hear pleasure again.
and then my heart with pleasure fills it
Pleasure. You could just held that vowel just a little longer on pleasure. Pleasure. Just a note.
then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils
And we chopped off the dances with daffodils.
heart with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils
And again, just a little stress thing. So again, you shifted to stress. Stress for daffodils will actually be on daffodils, which are a type of flower.
with pleasure fills and dances with daffodils
Yeah, lots of besides those little stress things I mentioned. Again, kind of tricky. It's hard to talk about stress and intonation here just because of the poem. One thing when you're reading poetry is you don't necessarily have to kind of constrain yourself to lines. You can keep going. Even if a line ends, you can still keep moving. You could say like for oft, when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood. They flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. You can read it like that. You don't have to be confined to the rhythm that the poem has. It's okay to break from it. Just a note. But some things I liked. I like your short. I like your dark L sounds. Like for instance, we see it on daffodils, that sound there. Same thing with like fills as well. Lots of breath is coming through. I heard down your R sounds as well. So I would say the big thing is just kind of pay attention to those stresses. Experiment saying the poem without so much reliance on the rhyme and in the meter that they have. But thank you for sending that, Shok. We always appreciate it. Edward is becoming our British English expert. Edward notes, in British English, library is sometimes pronounced library. Secretary becomes secretary. Secretary. That would make sense, actually. Okay. Thank you for those notes. Much appreciated. All right, before we take a look at our next pronunciation files, guys, just want to talk about some opportunities that we have in case you're interested in kind of doing what we're doing, but in a more informal, kind of relaxed, conversational practice. Like if you would like to join me on screen, much like how, oh my gosh, I am joining myself on screen. Look at this. This is amazing. So if you would like to join me on screen, just like this, and we can talk pronunciation together. We can do exercises together. I can give you feedback. We have an option called Mission English, which you can access at our site, fluentamerican.com. You can also see that below on the ticker passing through. And I kind of just want to highlight really quick about what we do in Mission English, because I think there's a lot that can help you and that we can learn together. Just a quick note, sometimes the volume is a little high, so you might want to turn your speakers down just for a second. But let's take a quick look.
Ooh, notice that for me, I'm not really having that. Ooh, and it doesn't sound exactly the same, like ooh, but they're close enough that for the speech that you're doing in daily life, it'll be really nice day. Really nice day.
Really nice day.
So what I'm hearing, so I heard really nice. So what happened was you put day at a lower pitch. Really nice day. Okay. I thought for the most part it sounded pretty good. I think there were a couple words you want to watch out for a little bit. Yeah, there you go. That last one's great.
So again, so what we do in Mission English is we do exercises together. It's a community setting, so it's very conversational. Sometimes we have 2-3 people on screen and we all do exercises. And the other great part about it is that it's every single day of the week, except the weekend. So it's Monday through Friday. Right now, what you can also do is if you use the code FALL50, you can get half off your first month. So that means that you're getting 18 pronunciation classes for $15. So if you go to the website, sign up again for missionenglish.com, join me on screen every single day of the week. We do streams at different times, on Mondays and on Thursdays. We do them at 8 o'clock p.m. New York time. And then on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, we do them at 9:30 in the morning. So that way with different times for different time zones. It would be great to work with you. I know some of you guys are already in it, and it's, there's a lot of people are like, no, I want to do like one-on-one classes. I prefer that. But the reality is that you can actually learn a lot more from the group classes because you actually get to hear other people. And a lot of times people are making very similar mistakes. So it's a great experience because you're getting not only the listening and you can hear the differences between mine and other people, but then you're also getting the chance to practice as well. So it'd be great to see you there in our Mission English group. Quick note from Edward, really quick from Emmanuel. We learned so much. Facts. It's fun. A lot of people are like, no, I want to do individual stuff. I'm like, you are really, if you're just doing one-on-one, you're actually, I understand the thought that like, no, I'll learn more in a one-on-one class, but no, I really think that the group setting is actually a lot more informative in many ways. Edward notes certain varieties of English, whenever the E is followed by an L, it's pronounced like a short, like put. Interesting. I cannot debunk this or say. I will trust Edward on his notes. He's much more experienced on this. Okay. Yeah, my mom notes she wants to learn more about British English. Hey, to each their own. Let's take a look at our next file. Actually, Mom, I've done some. It is quite different from American English. We actually have some videos where we've looked at British English. There was actually one where I took a British English class. That was on a live stream. That was fun. I think it was with Mark. We have other ones where we compare different accents. There's actually a British English accent called Estuary English that has a lot of similarities with American English. And we have a whole video about that, collaborating with Ed. But yeah, let's take a look then at our next file. Here we go.
Have you heard of the musician Vic Hennigan? Well, tonight my husband and I are going to hear him play his electronic music. I'm so excited.
Okay, well, this voice sounds familiar. I won't be able to provide any real critiques here because this is given by a native speaker. My mom. She was kind enough to send us an actual audio file. Let's listen to this again. And just kind of identify some of the things that are happening here that you can apply to your own speech to help you achieve a natural sound as well.
Have you heard of the musician Vic Hennigan?
Have you heard, do you hear that high pitch again on the question? This is a way that, like, if you're, let's say you're asking someone a question, and you're just trying to get their interest and things like that. Good for like icebreakers, or good for like when you first meet someone, or like you're just trying to, you're asking a question, but the goal isn't really to answer the question. It might be like a conversation starter sort of situation. This is a very common pattern for that. Like, did you know that? Have you heard that? So that part tends to be really high.
Have you heard of the musician Vic Hennigan?
Because what you'll notice, like Vic Hennigan, even though that's stressed, it's actually at a much lower pitch than that first part. Because that higher pitch, when you start with it, it generates interest. It creates curiosity among your listener and things like that. So Just kind of something to watch out there. Hello to Hashir. I'm not familiar with you. Welcome to the stream. If you would like to send us your pronunciation files, it would be great to hear from you. If you look at the video description, we talk about all the ways where you can send in your files. Of course, you're welcome to just listen and hang out in the chat as well, but great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Going back to our file.
Well, tonight, my husband.
Well, tonight, how about that? You're going to hear that pitch change?
Musician Vic Hennigan. Well, tonight, my.
Well, tonight, like, so again, like tonight or later today, you know, situations like that, again, growing high pitch.
Well, tonight, my husband and I are going to hear.
My husband and I, so again, like when you have two people, like my cousin, my brother and I, my friend and I, so notice that the I is going to be at a lower pitch than the first one. And then it's usually going to have like a rising intonation, like my husband and I, my friend and I, my wife and I, and dragging that out with a lower pitch, but a rising intonation.
My husband and I are going to hear him play his electronic music.
Going to hear him play. Going to hear him play.
My husband and I are going to hear him play his.
So notice there, we have a lot of people coming out of the woodwork. Okay, hello to Eric, another person I'm not super familiar with, but welcome. Let's see both you and Hashir in future streams, and basically everyone here. I want to see everyone in future streams, not just them. But great, welcome to the stream. If you would like to see some feedback on your own pronunciation, take a look in video description so you can send in your pronunciation files. We'll walk through the steps a little bit later as well. Just again, highlight that pattern there.
Well, tonight, my husband and I are going to hear him play his.
Are going to hear him play. So notice that it's a repetition of the pattern, but each time it's a little bit different. Are going, then we're going to drop down to hear him. Are going to hear him.
His electronic. Tonight, my husband and I are going to hear him play.
Are going to hear him play. Are going to hear him play. So that's a one thing that I think a lot of English learners are close to, but what they tend to do is use the same pitch over and over. Are going to hear him play. Are going to hear him play. Like something like that versus are going to hear him play. Where it's like we're at this level, then we drop a little bit, and then we drop a little bit more. Very natural pattern there.
To hear him play his electronic music.
His electronic music. His electronic music. Again, music. Again, rise, fall. Perfect.
I'm so excited.
So is a word that very commonly gets stressed. If you put it before an adjective or an adverb, what tends to happen is so will get stressed, but then also the word after it. So I would expect so and excited to get stressed.
Play his electronic music. I'm so excited.
So excited. So again, down, down. So excited. Very common pattern there. So good job, Mom. You sound very natural. My mom's a native speaker, so that's what do you expect?
Have you heard of the musician Vic Hennigan? Well, tonight my husband and I are going to hear him play his electronic music. I'm so excited.
Cool. And if you guys have any questions there, be sure to let me know. But I think lots of great information you can glean from that, you can take from that, and apply to yourselves. Okay, so I want to just again, I know some people have stopped by, which is great, but just some quick reminders in case you're watching this for the first time. We would love to have your pronunciation files because that's pretty much what we do here in the Schwa Mill. It's every single Saturday at this time we listen to your pronunciation files and try to give the best feedback that we can to help you sound more natural in American English. And in case you're watching this and you would like to send in your own file, this is the link where you want to go. And once you click on that link, what it's going to do, it's going to send you here. Well, let me actually make this a little bigger. Okay, so it's going to send you here. And once you're here, you're going to see all of these different things. Okay, so you can go to vocaroo.com. And once there, it's going to give you the option to record yourself. It's going to give you a link, and you can post that link right here, and we'll be able to hear you. Of course, if you're not comfortable just yet, now's not the best time. Maybe you're in a place that's really noisy or whatever the reason is. Maybe now's not the best time to send audio. Cool. We again do the stream every single Saturday, so it'll be great to hear you in the future. Save this link. this link up here, because this is the same link we use every single live stream. Typically, I update it on Thursday or Friday, so that way it's blank, and then you can add in your own files. Then you notice lots of information to learn from that last file. I definitely agree. Also, Emmanuel makes similar comments there. Okay. Children versus children. Making a note about short I versus schwa sounds. Interesting. Cool. Anyways, we got a couple more files that I received. I'm going to give you guys back your screen just for a moment, as I just want to scout these files just to make sure that they are good. Get an idea what's going to be happening. Okay. In the meantime, while I'm taking a look at these, just want to also remind you of another opportunity. So maybe doing a live stream every day, Monday through Friday, like we do in our Mission English program. Maybe now is not the best time for you to do that. We have other opportunities too, which require less commitment. For instance, we have a group on Telegram where basically for $5 a month, you can get a little bit of pronunciation practice every day, including weekends. I just want to kind of highlight that for you, and then we'll talk a little bit more about it. Give me one moment.
Eel, please. I think your O sounds are a little bit tense. I'm getting a lot of O. Take off the T on center.
Okay, so in the Telegram group, basically what happens is every single day of the week, I write down a challenge group of words to say. I send in audio myself saying them, and then you can send in your audio files, and then we listen to them. Okay, so it's simple. It gives you that 2 or 3 minutes every day that you need to practice your pronunciation. Because let's be honest, guys, pronunciation is one of those things that if you're not studying it every day, you don't have to study long. I was studying like 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Cool. If you can do more, but at least do, 3 to 5 minutes every day. Because if you don't, and you miss a couple days, you feel it. You're a little slower. You probably notice this with language learning. If you take a day off and then you come back, you're like, man, I feel a little slower today. Same thing with pronunciation. So the Telegram group is an opportunity to do that. It's also not just me giving feedback. We also have a assistant. Her name is Lenora. So you're getting feedback from me. You're getting feedback from her, and again, every single day of the week. And you can send in multiple files too. So that's another option in case the Mission English is not the best season to be doing that. Okay, I've taken a look at our files. Let me share my screen, and we'll go back to hearing what you guys got. Okay, let's see what we have here.
I wish I could speak English like a native speaker. I have already been learning English for more than 3 years now.
Okay, lots of great stuff here.
I wish I could speak English like a native speaker.
Okay, so one thing here. So English has this concept called a compound noun. A compound noun is basically when you have two words that join together to make one specific thing. To give a quick example of a compound noun, most everyone here, I'm guessing, has is like a cell phone. Cell phone. We have two words, right? We have cell, we have phone. But when those join together, it makes one thing. Cell phone, two words, but one thing, my cell phone. Okay. So when this happens in English, the way we show it is that we're going to stress the first word. So we're going to stress cell here. So notice cell phone, cell phone. It's just a note on that. Okay. So I would say native speaker, like a native speaker. A lot of times native speaker is treated as a compound noun. So you would expect native to have a heavier stress than speaker. So instead of native speaker,
like a native speaker.
Do that native speaker. So you're putting a lot of weight on speaker there. What you can do is instead shift the stress on the native, like a native speaker.
I wish I could speak English like a native speaker.
Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about pitches too. I like how you're starting this off.
I wish I could speak English.
I wish I could speak English. Cool. Very natural pattern. I wish is you're stressed. Then you start going down in pitches. Wish I could speak English. I wish I could speak English. I wish I could speak English.
I wish I could speak English.
My only thing there is in terms of linking, it's slightly choppy because some of your consonant sounds are a little heavy. And one of the things that you can do with that,
I wish I could speak English like
like could. You could hear that could speak,
Wish I could speak
yeah, could speak versus could speak, could speak. Can you hear a difference between could speak and
I wish I could speak English like
yeah? So that's one thing is that could speak. A lot of times there's a concept called a held sound. And so held sounds are super, super common for consonants. It's like if a word ends on a D or like a K or a T, among other consonants, we're getting like these t, k, d. So what I would say is that for that, a lot of times those breaths are not released, and instead you link it together. So instead of could speak, it becomes could speak. Instead of like that man, it becomes that man. Instead of like could go, it becomes could go in situations like that. So if you're looking for a concept that I think could start having an immediate impact on your speech, I would look up held sounds or stop sounds. Okay, so held or stop. Let me just quick note in the chat box that way you can see that. Held or stop.
speak English like a native speaker.
I like how you're saying native.
Like a native
Aside from just the stress things, native, you're using that fast D sound, so it's not native, right? Native, where you have a T surrounded by vowels, so you make it like a fast D. Great. So again, it's not native, it's native. I like that. Sounds good.
speak English like a native speaker.
Native speaker, native speaker. Let's imagine we already talked about the compound noun part, but let's imagine that this was the right stress. Native speaker,
Like a native speaker.
speaker, native speaker. Your pitches are a little bit similar. So you're not normally going to hear this sort of pattern in American English, like dun 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 dun. It's going to be more dun 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 dun. Native speaker, native speaker. You would have expected the sound to go at a lower pitch, and right now you're staying a little high. And because you're staying high, that makes it sound flat. In fact, it almost kind of sounds like Siri or like Google Assistant a little bit. Native speaker, native speaker.
Like a native speaker.
Like a native speaker versus native speaker. Okay, so just having that lower pitch would have been helpful there.
I have already been learning English for more than 3 years now.
I like that for.
English
For great. Way to drag that out. So when you're talking and maybe you're thinking or you just need to pause for a minute, don't just stop your sound. Keep it flowing. Keep it going. So I really like what you did just there. You dragged it out.
I've been learning English
I've been learning English for great. Really like that. The only thing I would say is that for force, you can get a little bit more breath through. It's a little bit closed off, like for
learning English
for versus for. So you can open up your throat a little bit more. I would also maybe lower your pitch a little bit, okay? Because this isn't a stressed word, so we can lower the pitch. It's reduced, so put it a little lower. I've been studying English for. I would copy that a little bit.
I have already been learning English.
I have
already been learning English.
And it's hard with just one small sample, but I have already like I'll put it this way. Contractions, I would see if you're in your speech, are you using contractions? Because I have already not certainly possible, not wrong, but that's normally going to be contracted. I've already instead of I have already, I've already. For instance, do you normally say like, oh, like there's the car, or do you normally say like there is the car, or like do you say like there are five, or do you normally say like, there are five? So just something I'd just like you to begin kind of paying attention to is asking yourself, like, hey, am I using contractions in my speech? If the answer is no, then that's something, again, I would really encourage you to start doing more. Because if this sentence is true, and your goal is to start sounding more like a quote unquote native speaker, then contractions are going to be something that you really need.
For more than 3 years now.
For more than 3 years now. That pitch pattern.
Learning English for more than 3 years now.
More than 3 years now. More than 3 years now. That pitch pattern, again, is not going to be the most common in American English. For more than 3 years now. More than 3 years now.
English for more than 3 years now.
More than 3 years now. More than 3 years now. So I would say more than 3 years now. I've been learning English for more than 3 years now. More than 3 years now. So that's the pattern I think would be more common. More than 3 years now. 3 years now. Years now. 3 years now. So notice that 3 is here. Then we're going to go up 3 years. And then we're going to start our decline. Now, I've been studying English for more than 3 years now. And that's just going to make it sound a little bit less robotic, a little bit less flat.
Learning English for more than 3 years now.
One last note about linking.
Already been learning English for more than 3 years now.
More than. A lot of times than's going to get reduced to like then. It's like more than. It's a more than. Also, you want to get lower pitch on than. It's like more than 3 years now. I've been learning English for more than 3 years now. It's a more than 3 years now. More than 3 years now. That's just a note there. So those are going to be my big suggestions. What a great audio file. So many great concepts to be looking at. I would try just saying that whole sentence again with all those considerations and see how different it sounds to you. Because my guess is it's going to make a pretty noticeable difference. But thank you so much for sending that file. We do appreciate it. That's our first one. And I agree. Yeah. My mom notes it sounds to me like you're well on your way to speaking English like a native speaker. Definitely. Lots of great stuff happening. Denny asks, question. Say the way I speak now is good enough to start speaking to clients? I think I'll freelance for a while. Yes, go do it. You're going to learn so much more. Like it's like, don't let pronunciation like hold you back. Do all the things. You'll only get better. Go do it. Run. Do it yesterday, Denny. I'll die. Though, thank you for sending your file. We really appreciate it. Lots of great stuff. You should be very happy with where your English is already. Edward asks, question. Is a glottal stop present in American English? What is often in American English in general, there is a difference between a glottal stop and a held stop, but in American English, they're almost treated the same. So I would say just use a held thing. Like, for instance, like got it, or like do it, or like that it sound will be held, or like I didn't go. That's lots of held sounds there. So they might not necessarily be pronounced exactly the same way as what you would find in British English, but that concept of not allowing the breath to move, yeah, 100%. Question. We have a question here from Forlearn. I like what a very pleasant profile picture that is. Very, very nice. They ask, great to see you in the stream, by the way. Hope to see you in future streams. Should the P in speaker sound like a B? No. I'm gonna hazard a guess that you may be an Arabic speaker. But speaker should not sound like speaker. It should be speaker. Sp. Okay, so always watch out for P's and B's. Remember that for that P sound, your throat down here needs to be voiceless. So you're not going to feel vibration. Speaker. Okay? Let's just note on that. My mom notes that, yes, Americans tend to use lots of contractions. It's a fact. Same thing also with like phrasal verbs. I was talking with a student. I was trying to help a student with some IELTS stuff, and I was telling them they need to use more phrasal verbs in their writing, and they were like, "Oh, phrasal verbs!" But I can't use phrasal verbs on IELTS. Why not? There's this sense that like phrasal verbs are informal or not professional, when the reality is that phrasal verbs are extremely common. You are really limiting yourself if you're not studying phrasal verbs. I know they're hard. I know there's thousands of them, but you need them. Especially for instance for people speaking Romance languages, that can be very difficult because English often has a Romance language, like a Latin version. Like for instance, like distribute. Like let's say in class, a teacher distributes some paper. That's fine. It works. People understand it, but no one talks that way. People won't say, "Oh, distribute the paper." No, they'll say, "Pass out the paper, give out the paper, hand out the paper." Things like that. So you really need to use phrasal verbs especially if you're studying American English. Extremely common. Okay, what is next? What's next is water. We need a water break.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
Okay, that's done. Denny, I did it. I did the thing, Denny. I did the thing. My mom's noting that she wants to study some Spanish. Of course, great goal to go after. It's only the second most common language in the U.S. It probably would have been more helpful for me to study Spanish than Italian. Next one here.
If you ask me, honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Some interesting stress things happening here. Play that again. I can find my mouse. Constant battle trying to find the mouse.
If you ask me, honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Okay, the very first thing I'm going to say is some whatchamacallit, some...
If you ask me, honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
First thing I'm going to mention is short eye versus long eye. Oh, ma dai, Danny, tu lo sai che ho fatto la scelta giusta con l'italiano. Tu lo sai.
If you ask me,
if you ask me,
if you ask me,
I like your short eye there. I think that sounds pretty good. If you ask me, if you ask me. Just another option too, like if you ask me, you may hear that me, kind of doing a lot of movement there. That's another option. You don't have to use that. It's just talking about some alternatives that you may hear there.
if you ask me.
Okay, if you ask me. Honestly, I would have held that E a little longer.
Honestly.
Do you hear how the breath just dies there? It just stops. It's just like, I'm done. And then it buries itself to never be woken again. Honestly. Nah, keep that breath flowing. Honestly. Like in the last five, you guys remember when she said like that more and she kind of dragged it out? That a very similar situation here. I would have held that longer to link to your next part.
I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now. Some different stresses than I would have opted for.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind.
Which, watch out for which. So it's not weech, it's more which. For that short eye sound, again, the very back of your tongue is down, the sides of your tongue touch your top teeth, the very front of your tongue is down, and the goal is to get like an sound. Sound. Okay.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right.
Also, same thing with wind. So again, I would do this progression like which. And then I would do that 3 times really fast. Which. And then wind. It's like wind. And when you're doing that, do it in one breath, no breaks. Don't do like wind. No, not like that. We're gonna link it all together. Wind, or which. Keep it going. Okay. Just a note there.
I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Right now, unless it's at the start of a sentence, it doesn't usually get stressed. So I would not stress right now.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Instead of stressing right now, probably blowing. I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now. I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
I do like that when you're saying from I and then you're going down, everything's lowering in pitch. That's a great movement because nothing there you're really stressing. I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now. Another option too, instead of blowing, you could stress wind. It's just a note on that. I don't know which way the wind. I don't know which way the wind's blowing right now.
Honestly, I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now.
Right now. So I would have said that as I don't know which way the wind is blowing right now. I don't know which way the wind's blowing right now. Another note too on that.
I don't know which way the wind is blowing.
Wind is, again, the verb to be in general tends to be contracted. So similar question that I asked for our last recording, I would ask for this one. Are you using contractions in your speech? Because wind is blowing, that's kind of physically hard to say. You're going to hear the contraction. Contractions aren't there to make your life more difficult or another thing to remember. They're really there to make your life easier, because when you have the full word, it just chops everything up. It's less fluid. By using a contraction, you can flow more. Which way the wind's blowing? Which way the wind's blowing? It said wind is blowing, wind's blowing. It's faster, it's more efficient, it's a little smoother, so I'd really try to incorporate some more contractions. But yeah, short I sounds, some adjustments on stress, hold some sounds between your thought groups more, just try to link things together. Those are going to be my big suggestions for this audio file. I hope that makes sense. You can let me know if it does or if it doesn't. We have a contractions are cool. Yeah, they are. Yeah. They'll ask our Telegram group and the channel's pronunciation group. Yes, these are different groups. In fact, if you go to, how do I have not have this set up? One thing you'll see. So if you go to fluentamerican.com, hey, it's me. And if you go over to you guys don't even see this. You guys don't even see this. Look at this nonsense. Okay. So if you go to fluentamerican.com, if you click this Mission English tab over here, okay. And again, this gives you a trailer, give an idea again of what the Mission English is like. You're going to see the Telegram group is again $5 a month. And then the Mission English group is a separate one, which is in a private Facebook group. We also have the option where you can get both of these in this combined. So it's nice and convenient for you. Okay. It's just some things to consider. And again, if you're interested in our Mission English group, we meet Monday through Friday for 30-minute or longer live streams and do a variety of activities. In fact, I can do exercises in Mission English that I can't do on YouTube because I would get into copyright issues. Like we were just looking at movie trailers. We did shadowing exercises with movie trailers. We can look at shows, movies, and things like that. Which if I did that on YouTube, I would be afraid of getting the copyright stuff. So there's lots of options that I can do in our pronunciation group that I can't actually do here. And again, if you use the code 50 off, this only works for Mission English, but you'll get your first month for half price. So I hope you guys can take advantage of that. All right, going to take a look again at our documents. All right, guys, that's all of the pronunciation files that I see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a moment and just kind of hang out and just see if anyone has any specific questions that I can help answer. Okay. Otherwise, what's going to happen is we will sign off. I'll get to work on our next group of videos, which is super exciting. So again, in case you have also missed it, let me know in the chat, by the way, have you guys been doing our Novenglish challenge? And maybe you'll ask, no singer. No singer. I can't summon him. He acts on his own. Hey, hello to Esadik. Great to see you here. Thank you so much for the kind words. If you have a moment and you want us to take a look at your pronunciation, this is definitely a time to do it. We don't have as many files today. So you can go to this link, send us a file. We'd be happy to take a look at your pronunciation. Great to join you. Thank you so much for the kind words. Very, very thoughtful. Just spread the love everywhere. Much appreciated. But again, let me know, guys. So again, we are doing Novenglish. Happy Novenglish once more. Novenglish is our 30-day American English accent challenge, where what we are doing is every day for the month of November, putting out video. Last night I crashed. I'll be honest. I went to, it was like 10 o'clock. I'd been with my son all day because my wife had to leave, so I had to watch him all day. And I crashed. It was like 10 o'clock. I crashed on the couch. I woke up at it's probably about midnight, and I shot our next video. So if I look tired in our next video, that's why I have like bags under my eyes and stuff. Or actually, I guess it'll be the video. Yeah, I think it's the video I'll see tomorrow. But this is what we're doing, and I would love if you guys joined us on our challenge. I'm not trying not to ask for a big time commitment from you. But these are the things that I think are essential to getting a natural American English accent. You can see on the page, if you just go down to it's the very first playlist, 30-Day American Accent Challenge. This is Novenglish. This is every day in the month of November. We're doing a video talking about the things that I think are most necessary. Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, Jeff, you have a lot of videos on your channel. I don't know what order to do stuff in. I don't know what to study. And so this is to kind of guide you in terms of what to take a look at. Okay. So yeah, that's just to kind of give you some suggestions there. Okay. But yeah, all through November, we're going to be taking a look at people's pronunciation files. Okay. Why is Denny mentioning that horrible team, the Cowboys? Acting like the Cowboys would have won. Who are you? Who are you? Io pensavo che fossimo amici e poi ha detto questo, quindi adesso ho tanti dubbi. But yeah. Take a quick look again. Oh, Max has sent us a pronunciation file. I'm curious about these parentheses. Here below. Look at the text. Try and also keep our timestamps. I think I may have missed a couple little things, but in general, keeping things organized. All right, let's see what Max has for us here.
Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness.
Play that again.
Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness.
Wow, what I would say here is that this is very choppy. I think the individual sounds are pretty good.
Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness.
The only thing I would probably say was it fixed.
Minds fixed on
maybe fixed. Have their minds fixed. Instead of minds fixed, it sounds a little bit like an E sound versus an I. So pronunciation wise, that's probably my biggest thing. Minds fixed versus minds fixed. But besides that,
those only are happy who have their minds fixed.
It feels very choppy. Like those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness. Like it just kind of feels a little choppy there.
Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness.
On some object other than their own happiness. So we're kind of getting a lot, almost like kind of like text to speech vibes here. And I say that because I know Max can take it. So how can we smooth this out a little bit?
Those only are happy.
So let's just kind of break down like this sentence into if we were going to let's break it down into smaller groups and kind of talk about how to smooth things out. Okay. And they mentioned I try to make it everything clear. So yeah, it's really choppy, but that's the point. Well, clarity, yes, everything is super clear. But I'll be honest, for everyone kind of watching this, most likely you're already at a point with your English where things are clear. I'm not really worried about clarity for anyone here. I'm worried about how natural we are. If your goal is just to speak English clearly, my channel is not really for you. Because you're probably already there. What I would really recommend is if we need to smooth some of these things out. So let's take a small section here.
Those only are happy.
Those only are happy. Those only are happy. Those only are happy. So first thing, cut off a stress. I don't need only and happy to get stressed. Those only are happy. Those only are happy. So pick one. Don't do both. Those only are happy. And the other thing too is don't stop the breath. Like those only are happy. Those only are happy. Keep the breath flowing. Those only are happy.
Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on.
Who have their minds fixed. Who have their minds fixed. Who have their minds fixed. So again, one breath. Keep it flowing. Keep the placement in the same spot. Don't let it rise. Who have their minds fixed.
have their minds fixed on some object.
On some object. Who have their minds fixed on some object.
Fixed on some object.
It says some object or some object. So again, some, then we're going to start going down, right? Some object. Some object.
Other than their own happiness.
Other than their own happiness. Other than their own happiness. Other than their own happiness. Other than their own happiness. Who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness. Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness. Okay, so again, that's just in terms of breath and flow. That's how I would kind of link that together. What another thing you can try doing is say this in one breath. Take a big breath in. The exercise we're always talking about. Take your knuckles. We're not going to box. We're not going to fight. We're going to put our knuckles on our ribs. Take a big breath in. What you're going to do when you do that, you're going to feel your ribs expanding. And then try to say the sentence and at the same time, feel your hands pulling in again as your ribs contract. Because a lot of people aren't using your diaphragm enough. So use your diaphragm, which is your muscle down here. Okay. It's around your stomach. Okay. So as you say that sentence, feel everything closing. I'll give you an example. Take a big breath in. Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness. Those only are happy who have their minds fixed on some object other than their own happiness. And again, that's just going to help you kind of get that flow going. Okay. But yeah, those would be my big suggestions for that file. Thanks for sending us a file, Max. Always good to hear from you. My mom has a suggestion for folks. If I can make a suggestion to everyone, check out the poet Janet S. Wong. She writes for children, and her poems lend themselves to pitch, tone, and stress. She's fun to read too. I wonder if she has some recordings of herself reading poems and things. Anyways, okay, I think for the sake of time, guys, I think that kind of concludes us for today. We've gone through all the files. If this was your first time joining us, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. It's been such a great time spending part of our Saturdays with you. And let's be honest, guys, with American English, there are millions of channels out there. So the fact that you spent a little bit of time with us on a Saturday of all days, it could be with your families and things like that, but no, you're with us. Trying to improve, trying to change your pronunciation. So the fact that you spent some time with us on a Saturday truly means a lot. Again, if you're looking for more specific individual feedback for your own pronunciation, again, go to fluentamerican.com, check out Mission English. We'd love to work with you one-on-one in class as well, but we'd love to work with you in our group because honestly, I think we get more done in the groups than we do one-on-one in a lot of ways. So again, check out Mission English. If you want just a little bit of pronunciation practice every day, a little bit of feedback from me every day, what you can do is you can go to our Telegram group. Other than that, if maybe your budget's a little tight, a lot of people are saying we're in a recession or entering a recession. Cool. That's what the YouTube channel's for. That's why we do this show. So that way we can give people some free feedback and things. I see Sadiq has sent us a file. Okay, let's give some. Hold up, I'll do some quick feedback, Sadiq, and then we'll head out. So call the brakes. See what we got here. Give me a second. I will share my screen once more. Rewind, and then we'll go through everything again. Dun, 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 dun. Okay.
We must all suffer one of two things: the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Okay. I'm going to just give some quick feedback for this before we head out.
We must
versus we must. So again, I think your placement's really high. So if you're looking for one concept that I think is going to have a huge impact on your speech, I would look at placement, which is all about where you're projecting from. Because right now your E sounds really high. It's like E, like we versus we. So what's happening is I'm projecting from a lower position. The other thing that's happening is I'm getting more breath through because you're really limiting your breath. Your throat's really tight and it's not letting through a lot of air. So you're doing like we versus way. So if you're looking for one concept, if you go to our channel and you look up in fact, we have a whole challenge called our a placement challenge. I would strongly recommend taking a look at these videos here because it's going to go all about placement. Okay. And then I would also consider taking a look at breath as well, just to open things up more.
We must all.
Also, the other thing too is that your consonant sounds are very strong, which means that your vowel sounds become weaker. So again, it's not must, it's must. We must. We must. So again, it's not must, that sound. Just try to open that up a little bit more as well.
We must.
Did it must, we must, we must. Another exercise you can try doing is like doing just take your vowels, remove all the consonants, just do the vowels. Then add the consonants back in. We must, we must, we must. In fact, do that 3 times with one breath, no pausing. We must, we must, we must.
All suffer one of two things.
All suffer one of 2 things. So you have a lot of stresses. So another thing I'm going to tell you is that I think you need to cut down on the number of stresses that you're using because it's giving you this really choppy feel. When I say choppy, it means like it starts and it stops and it starts and it stops. It's like a car that's like stalling.
We must all suffer one of two things.
We must all suffer one of 2 things. Like it's like versus we must all suffer. So I would have just stressed all there. We must all suffer one of 2 things. We must all suffer one of 2 things. We must all suffer one of 2 things. 1 or 2 things. So I think you could have said that whole first part with just one stress. I would have just stressed all. We must all suffer one of 2 things.
The pain of discipline.
The pain of discipline. The pain of discipline. So again, you're giving me 2 stresses there. Maybe we could just stress discipline. The pain of discipline. The pain of discipline.
The pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Or the pain of regret. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. So like I probably wouldn't stress pain for either of those. I would just stress the last words. The pain of discipline, I would have had a rising intonation there because there's more information coming. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Okay. And again, you want a falling intonation on regret. We must all suffer one of 2 things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. That's how I would have read that.
We must all suffer one of 2 things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret.
Okay. Hopefully that is helpful. Placement, breath, reduce the number of stresses that you have. That would have had a very profound impact on how that was said. Okay. Double checking, make sure there's no other surprises here. All right, guys, I have a lot of videos to edit because, again, happy Novenglish. 30 videos in 30 days. We're doing the thing. Okay. Hope to see you around on the channel. Again, we'll be back next week at this time doing more pronunciation feedback. You guys have a good day, have a good night, good afternoon, and I will see you later. Take care.